Hello and welcome to Hank Games Without Hank. My name is John Green. I'm the manager of the AFC Wimbledon Wimbly Womblys, who are top of the league in League 2. Today we're taking on Mansfield Town, a field full of men. It's my kind of field. The AFC Wimbledon Wimbly Womblys kind of starting our B team. We've got a very interesting schedule coming up. In the next 5 days we have 3 games. We play Mansfield Town today. Then we play Swindon Town. That's right, Swindon Town, the Swindon Town Robins, not the Swindon Town Swiddly Poopers, in the final of the Johnstone's Paint Trophy. That's a game we want to win because it's a trophy. We like trophies. And 2 days after that, we face Newcastle in an FA Cup replay after our 0-0 draw over Premier League side Newcastle. So that's a pretty tough run of fixtures for a League 2 club. We're going to do our best not to be tired. I don't know how to win that trophy and beat Newcastle. The FA Cup is our competition. I want to win it, but I also like guaranteed trophies, so I'm having a bit of a panic. Anyway, speaking of difficult decisions, today we're going to talk about a topic suggested by Project for Awesome donor Henry, who wanted me to talk about how to do big city jobs in small towns, and in general, kind of how to balance family versus career. This is very, very difficult. Like if you work in TV, most of the jobs are in LA or New York. Not all of them, but most of them. If you work in publishing, most of the jobs, in fact, the vast majority of the jobs are in New York. You know, if you're in the U.S. anyway. So Penguin, Random House, Simon & Schuster, Harcourt, Houghton Mifflin, they are all in New York. Now, there are other publishing companies. There's some in Indianapolis. There's some, you know, in any town you go to. But the biggest publishers are all in New York. So that is a huge challenge, I think, for people. Oh! Oh! Yabamba tried to get tricky. Should have probably just gone for goal there. He is Yabamba, after all. He likes to score. Like, this is a reality. Like, if you want to work in publishing, the best thing for you to do is to go to New York. If you want to work in video production, the best thing for you to do is to be in New York or LA. Now, like, I think the people who work here, for instance, in Indianapolis on Crash Course and Mental Floss and The Art Assignment, like, I think that they have very rewarding work lives, and, like, I hope that they stay a long time. But, like, you know, short of something like this, there just are not as many opportunities here. You know, that's it's important to acknowledge that reality, and that, like, it isn't crazy for people who have those jobs as their dreams to want to go to the places where those jobs are. And, like, there's nothing, like, you know, that is kind of the world correctly seen. I think it is a big problem. I think that some of that stuff will get better in some ways as we have more and more telecommuting, but some of it won't, because a lot of it's just about relationships. It's about and most of those relationships, certainly not all of them, but most of those work relationships are going to happen primarily or at least partly IRL. So, you know, sometimes it'll be people see your stuff on YouTube and they like it and they want to work with you, and it doesn't matter where you live, and you find a way to make it work. Sometimes it isn't going to be that way. Sometimes it's going to be people, you know, they know someone who knows someone who knows someone. And I don't, you know, like, that's a big, I don't know, there's a huge advantage to being in a city like New York or LA if you're interested in video production or publishing or whatever. On the other hand, I guess you could make the argument that the downside to it is that there's also, just as that's where almost all the jobs are, that's also where almost all the people are, so there's more competition in the labor force. But on the whole, I think that it's helpful to be in those big cities. That said, like, I obviously work in video production and publishing and don't live in New York, but and I don't think, and, you know, and Hank does, and he lives in Missoula, Montana. So it's not, look, the big city way is not the only way. I've tried both ways. I lived in Chicago for a long time, and when I lived in Chicago, I had relationships that were hugely important to the fact that I ended up, you know, getting to write books for a living and getting to kind of do my dream job, I guess. But it's not the only way, and I know lots of people who don't live in New York or LA or Chicago and never did, who've had successful careers. So I do think it's an advantage to be in a city like that. I don't think it's a necessity. And certainly, hopefully Hank and I have shown in our own, this is bad. Everything worked out better than expected, thanks to the hard work of Seb Brown. Did you know, by the way, Meredith, that he saved 2 penalties against Luton Town in 2011 to send us into the Football League? It's true. If it weren't for Seb Brown, we wouldn't even be able to play AFC Wimbledon in FIFA. It's true. He's amazing. He's also very good looking. Rosianna, who goes to all the AFC Wimbledon games in real life now, reports that Seb Brown's a looker. In this particular game, they make him a little not so fit, but apparently he's quite fit in real life. I don't even know what fit means, but British people use it a lot. Anyway, so I think I do think it's an advantage, but I think if you can talk to your get it, Seb. Oh, that's disappointing. Oh, Palmer, that's not good. But coming back from 1-0 down, it's kind of our thing now, and we are fielding our B team, and it doesn't matter if we lose this game. So there's a lot. Of the next 3 games, this is the least important. This one only matters for momentum. Don't get me wrong; I'm a big believer in momentum, but that's all we need. Were we offside? Yabamba, I don't like to criticize you, but you don't have the best sense of when you're onside. Yeah, so I guess that's all I can say about the big city thing. It does matter. I don't think it's the only thing that matters, and I think hopefully. Hank's never lived anywhere but Orlando, Florida, and Missoula, Montana, and he's had a lot of professional success in industries that are not associated with either Orlando or Missoula. But I do think that's the exception to the rule. I think that it's a lot easier. Certainly for me, it's been a lot easier in Chicago. Now it's easy because I have established relationships, and so I think in a perfect world, that's what I would always do. I would go for a few years to a big city that I needed to be in, and then I would go and take those relationships that I established and use them to not have to live in New York or LA. Nothing against New York or LA, which are both lovely towns. I just don't want to. I don't want to live in them. I think they're kind of problematic. It'd be problematic for me to live there now as a writer, just because I think it doesn't. I wouldn't have the proper sense that I need of the actual characters I want to write about. But that's a different video. So I guess in the second half I wanted to talk about the second part of Henry's question, which is about family work stuff in general. I think we emphasize in our culture, we really emphasize work, and that's good in a lot of ways. I'm a big fan of work. I'm a big believer in work. I think whether you're working for money or just working, I really like it. Whether we're talking about gardening or building stuff that you like to build or whatever it is that I like work. I find it useful. I would do it if I didn't have to do it, etc. That said, the idea that you are what you do, or that you are defined primarily by your career and the earnings that you have in that career. Get it, double get it, triple get it. Why don't you get up? I think I was hitting the B button too many times or something. Anyway, that was probably my fault, but feels like it was his fault. There's H. White. There's H. Whoa, it's not what I wanted it to be. It's not what I wanted it. He's still young. He's only 19. Pass. Good. Pass. Yes. Pass. Very nice. Shoot in slow motion. Not what I was hoping for. I think the reason that we have this weird obsession with work is that we feel that it says something about a human being's soul. You hear this all the time, that some work is soulless, that you have to love what you do, that you have to that you should be able to live your dream or work your. And this is, look, I'm coming at this conversation from a very privileged position, and I understand that, so I want to acknowledge that. Obviously, I've been ridiculously lucky in my own career. But I just don't agree with that notion that you have to love all of the work that you do. I have the best job I could ever imagine, and I do lots of work I don't like. I regularly have to fill out paperwork and do other, I have to attend meetings, So I don't love. I'm going to make some substitutions too, just because we don't need to win this game, and I'm worried that some guys are going to be tired. It's a good idea. We have 3 matches in 5 days, and the other 2 are so important. So I'm gonna leave in strutting on the Ritz, but I'm gonna Fayers. No offense, Fayers, but you're never gonna play. But I guess I'll bring in Les Moore. You want to hear the new Les Moore song, Meredith, that I got? He scores with his left. He scores with his right. Oh, Les Moore makes some more look shite. You like that? I'm working on that. You don't like it?
I like it.
Yeah, she likes it. She's lying. She's literally, she knows her job's on the line. If she says she doesn't like it, she's out. Um, yeah. So I think the reason, so I think like even you can hear this in the way we describe certain jobs as soulless or as soul-sucking or whatever, that we associate work so much with the human soul and with the worth of the soul, which I think goes back to sort of the Protestant urge of to connect sort of worthiness with your career, that old original American problem. And I think that dehumanizes a large number of people. I think it says that a lot of people have less soulful lives than those who get to do what they really want to do, and that's just not true. Like the inner life of someone who has a job that they dislike, say in fast food, can be just as rich as anyone else's inner life, and they can have all of the meaning in their life, and they can have the same like complicated and important relationship with art. They can have the same fulfilling family lives as anyone else. And I really dislike it when we dehumanize that was close, when we dehumanize people in that way. I think it's really it ends up, I understand like it comes from a place of wanting to be positive, but I think it ends up being a really really negative thing. So I'm a big, it's Clucas. Good to see Clucas again. I'm a big believer in he's a ginger too. Oh God. Still, no more gingers. We're over that period of our lives. But yeah, I think we have to Meredith laughed because she has a boyfriend who's a ginger, I think. Is that why you were laughing? Yeah, she had a ginger boyfriend, but no more. She's over that period of her life, she said. Yeah, so I just think like we have to privilege our lives over work, not say that life is solely or exclusively about what you do for money, or even that your work is solely or exclusively about what you do for money. And a lot of the work that you're going to do, in fact, in my case, like most of the work that you're going to do, I think it's true for most people, isn't about money at all. It's about your family. It's about the relationships that you're going to have with your kids and the people who are closest to you, and your parents and your siblings, and that's the real work of being a person. So I personally will always say that should be privileged over anything else. The AFC Wimbledon Wimbly Womblys are squatting in shame because we have lost. We have lost to a town full of a field full of men. There are worse ways to go down. Context is everything. Best wishes.